Good morning, but it's really good afternoon. We're supposed to start at 12. But yeah, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to this event today. Very pleased to see everybody who's made the effort to turn up. It's a good opportunity really to celebrate some excellent work that's being done in Wales around WULF. And I'll just say we are delighted to be at the Senedd today to launch a new round of the Wales Union Learning Fund from 2022 to 2025. And also to celebrate some of the success stories from the previous round. The Senedd event will host inspirational testimonial from a lineup of passionate WULF advocates today, sat around, highlighting the brilliant work the projects do and the unique union-led learning model that we are lucky enough to have here in Wales. There are representatives from the three projects here today who will talk to you about their projects, how they've made a difference and showcase studies. We have also got Shavanah with us, General Secretary, I think Shavanah is somewhere, she will be, who will say a few words. And we're also delighted to have with us Vaughan Gethin MS, Minister for the Economy, who will be formally launching the new round of projects to start on the 1st of April 2022. So let's hope he's got his checkbook with him. Okay, so before I introduce the guest speakers from the projects, a few words from me. I am deeply honoured to be here chairing this event today. It's my first actual event that as the newly elected president of the TUC for this year, 2022-23, that I've actually been asked to do. I'm quite honoured to be able to do this. It is nice to be able to hold events in person again. As we all know, we've all experienced the last couple of years, which has been extremely difficult. We're not out of it yet, we know, and we're still getting new guidance. But ultimately, just being here today, being able to talk to people, and obviously in person, is a real big thing, really, for everybody. So Union Learning Fund, such as this, where we are here to celebrate the tremendous success of the Wales Union Learning Fund, and also to look forward to the new projects and another 3 years of supporting workers through this unique programme. I think that WULF is clearly an excellent example of an inclusive workplace learning programme, but it is so much more. It is social partnership in action. The funding comes from Welsh Government and the delivery is based on a partnership approach between the unions and employers, with unions taking the lead to ensure that fairness and equality are at its heart. And that's important because we have differences, and obviously with employers as trade unions that those things happen, but where we find grounds to work together, it's important to do that as well. The model is the reason why every year WULF continues to outdo itself and support more and more working people and consistently develop new innovative approaches. The recently published WULF Learner survey clearly shows this. WULF was delivered more during the pandemic, with over 10,000 workers accessing workplace learning, higher than in previous years, and learners' satisfaction is also up. It is also importantly showed that the union learning model is especially good at supporting workers to progress both in learning and in their work. 16% of the respondents reported that the learning resulted in a change of job role, and 52% that it led to a pay increase, which is very important because workers can see real benefits from being involved in these projects. So you can see from these numbers that it is great to get people into learning, but it doesn't stop there. Its true benefit is in the longer term developing workplace cultures to progress careers and improve terms and conditions of workers. That is why it's so pleasing to see that we have at least another 3 years of WULF. It is a credit to Welsh Government, and we are grateful to the Minister who is with us today, or will be with us today, and they have the foresight to continue to support WULF. It says a lot that equivalent programme in England, WULF, was pulled by the UK government last year. Not much surprise there, given the Tories' attitude to these issues. However, given the outcomes that WULF achieves and the impact it has, it is no wonder that Welsh Government choose to continue to support it as clearly delivers. It will need to keep delivering. Upskilling and reskilling will be a consistent feature of the workplace in future as we move to a net zero economy and as workplaces increasingly digitise. The need to transition skills is key, but this has to be done fairly. A just transition is one where workers have a central voice in planning the transition, so it is done with them and not to them. It's one where no workers or communities are left behind. The union-led model that is inherent in WULF has a huge role to play in that. I would also like to conclude by paying credit to the people who make WULF work. All the staff that work on a project, the union officials who dedicate their time, dedicated time to raising a profile of WULF with employers and partners and the many hundreds of reps involved in WULF, who are essentially a ready-made volunteer army in the workplace, supporting people to get involved. The WULF project staff from across all the unions do an awful lot with the comparatively small budgets that they have. And it's great to see that we have a number of them here today. I would particularly like to take the opportunity to thank the reps that make WULF work. Union learning reps are the key to our WULF model. They are the ones who are out there talking to workers, supporting them to overcome any barriers to learning that they may experience and signposting them to the courses. And what a job they do. Last year showed that over 40,000 were signposted to other forms of adult learning support. That's in addition to the 10,000 plus who access the WULF funded learning. So we know that reps are the key to this, learning reps in particular, but all reps play a part. As we move forward and seek to address the challenges for the future economy in Wales, we will need to ensure that the workplace is fairer and greener. The new WULF projects all have objectives in them that focus on widening participation and equality of opportunity. They all have objectives to support the challenges of moving to a net zero, and many focus on supporting under 25s and older workers. These are trade union values, but it is also the right to strengthen and grow the economy, and WULF is an important and unique vehicle which to deliver on those agendas. So that is why I'm really looking forward to hearing from the projects today, and why I'm very much looking forward to at least another 3 years of the Wales Union Learning Fund. So thank you for that. So time for me to shut up in a minute, and we're going to move to the running order. So let me now share a little about what we have in store for you today. First up, we will have an example from the rail industry, an industry close to my heart, and some of my colleagues here. We have colleagues from ASLEF talking you through their project, which was instrumental in getting the new train driver apprenticeship for Wales off the ground. Secondly, this will be followed by an example from the GMB that will highlight how WULF and union learning can benefit union-employer relations and impact on increasing the scope of collective bargaining in Wales. Finally, 3, we have a great story from the CWU about how WULF supports individual learning and development journeys, and critically, how those individuals so often go on to benefit many other working people through their infectious enthusiasm. Following the presentations from the Minister, Vaughan Gethin, we'll say a few words, and there will be an opportunity for photographs with the projects that are presented here today. And then before we break for a networking lunch, as I said, which will be up there, Shavanah will close the event with some final observations. So it's time to move on to the main part of the agenda today, and that is hearing from the projects and the learners themselves. We have 3 WULF success stories, and first up is an example from my own industry, the rail industry. I would like to introduce Emma Penman from ASLEF. Emma is an education development and project worker and is looking after learning partnership programmes in Wales. Emma is here today with her colleagues Helen Ward and John Paul Ibrahim from Transport for Wales. And I also noticed Steve from the full-time officer from ASLEF as well, here to support, which is good. So I'd like to hand you over to Emma and to give us your presentation, Emma. Thank you.
Pnawn da. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today. What a wonderful occasion it is to celebrate the WULF funding projects, all the wonderful work that they've done. And I'm here to highlight the work that ASLEF's Learning Partnership Programme has achieved over recent months. It's something that we're really proud of. It's the first ever apprenticeship for train driving, a qualification for Wales, and it is now an integral part of the rail industry and, for that matter, the adult education in Wales. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all the stakeholders for making it possible. I'd just like to say, if anyone has any questions, I'm available over lunch, so just come and see me then. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. That was very, very good. Just say my own son's just passed out as a train driver as well, actually, for Great Western. So it is a good occupation and a good future. So thanks, Emma. Nice, I would like to introduce Vincent Board. Jill Richards, unfortunately, can't be with us today from GMB as well. But we'd also Darren Cumner, the Chief Operating Officer at CAF Rolling Stock in Newport, to tell you about the work they have been doing. And Paul Jinks as well, by the way, sorry, the workplace rep. So to tell you about the work they've been doing, Vince is the Regional Education Officer for the GMB, Wales and South West. He is speaking on behalf of Mike Wilson, the WULF project leader, who couldn't make it today. So I'll hand over to Vince. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So within the GMB, from the Regional Secretary through to all the staff in the region, we all recognise the value of the WULF project in making a positive impact on our members' and learners' lives. The support we've received from our senior management team has been instrumental in the success of our WULF project, and our learning is now a real integral part of our members' offer. In this project year, we have worked with over 80 employers to help over 500 learners gain valuable skills and knowledge. In addition to this, we've supported another 500 learners by signposting them to other learning offers. Popular courses in this project year will include for us mental health, Excel and British Sign Language. Another success, we believe, for us in this project year, and WULF as a whole, has been working alongside CAF Rolling Stock UK. Through a number of WULF-funded events, we have secured a recognition agreement with CAF Rolling Stock UK. I'm going to leave explaining this relationship to the experts, Mr. Darren, the Chief Executive of CAF Rolling Stock, who's already been introduced, and the GMB Workplace Organiser, Mr. Paul Jinks. So I'll leave you in there capable.
As I've been introduced, my name is Darren Cumner. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and I'd introduce Paul Jinks, who is the head of the trade union, the GMB union on the site. I mean, it was interesting, we actually started with REL, and you can see that our part of it here is actually, this is actually the new rolling stock that we're manufacturing in the old steelworks in Nanwen, in Newport, and we have around about 250 people on site at the moment, and our whole factory is completely full of this new rolling stock for Wales. So we're relatively a new company. We've only been founded since 2018, and in that time we've had quite a steep introduction to a trade union, into GMB. We made a recognition agreement right at the end of 2019, and we expected, then we moved on into have a relationship with WULF, and we expected that to be a sort of general introduction, a general getting to know each other, and then COVID happened. And all of the things I'm going to present today has been massively impacted by COVID. And I think the strength of our relationship was really formed. So as a head of a manufacturing facility, suddenly experiencing in such a junior site the impact of COVID, the trade union partnership was absolutely vital. And myself and Paul spent a lot of times wondering how to keep the factory open and at the same time keeping people safe. But we're now in a situation where almost we're getting to a mature state of business as usual. In terms of the relationship with WULF, so it's a positive relationship. I think as we spoke about earlier, there's about 100 courses that we were open to. And again, as a new company, it's difficult to make all these offerings for all of our employees. So the partnership allows us to look at these various options and what are the best things for our employees. I said about the partnership allows these courses, and say some of it would be perhaps cost restrictive or outside of our business model. The partnership supports individual development and supporting career development in the workplace. I'm going to go on and just explain some of the courses that we've participated in. I think some of them have already been mentioned, but I think the first one is where I've had the most direct feedback. So I've been 30 years in manufacturing, and I've never seen so many people requiring mental health support. And from the training, you can actually see that people are confident to actually approach people and actually give that triage of people, what they're looking for, then it goes on into more immediate care. But the training is, say, very wide. I'm just going to read the list out. So things like IOSH, I think Paul himself actually did the IOSH training. So we've done prints, Excel, with stuff around warehouse management. And then the thing we're starting to look at is neurodiversity coaching. So people learn in different ways, and we know that, we know that we need to approach, we need to make sure that we're actually inclusive and we include everyone in all of the training. I could list another 100 things that we all want to get involved with, but I think it's important that any training that we do, that we actually make sure that the training is of a high quality and we're getting a value for money or value for the time that's invested. So as CAF, we measure the quality of the training, but we also make sure that anybody who's doing that training actually has got something out of that training. So it can be as simple as, yes, I enjoyed it, yes, it was a high level, or I don't want to do training anymore. And what we found is that overall the training was of high quality and most of the employees were engaged. In a few cases, very minor cases, where we wanted to have a direct conversation with WULF about the type of training we have, we found WULF is very supportive and receptive to feedback on ways to improve course offerings, the effectiveness of the online training. And a lot of this, some of the training, would be preferable to be face-to-face, but we know we needed to do some of this training. So some of it went online, but the best feedback we got is when it was face-to-face. So we will continue to support Mike and his team and provide the valuable feedback and the new training providers when required. So thank you for your attention. I will be staying around until 2 o'clock if anyone wants to ask me anything specifically. I don't know if Paul wanted to add anything. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to reinforce what Darren has said, really, and certainly from the workforce point of view, it is a relatively young workforce, and we haven't really, not everyone comes into this industry with the necessary skills for leadership and management or health and safety. Again, mental health awareness that Darren alluded to as well. And I think it's been really important to bring some of these youngsters on that want to get into leadership and management, or those who want to get into the technical side of it, like myself, health and safety. And I think with the WULF funding, the collaborative effect is we can only see the benefits within the workforce. And from what I see on the shop floor, we've got some new projects coming up now with Prince 2 and Excel that we've talked about, and also Lean, I think, Lean 6 as well. And again, this will only improve the company as a whole and the workforce, and long may it continue. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jill Richards, GMB Regional Organiser. I did make it today, only for a short while. I've rushed from one meeting, I have to go back, but I have got you. Just a few words to say that I've recently taken over responsibility for calf roll stock. However, in the short time, it's been a pleasure working with the company in partnership for the benefit of the members, and they aim to assist in the growth of the business. We aim to build up further on the partnership working and to see this company further flourish. Thank you to the CAF senior management team for consulting with the GMB at every stage of their development. We look forward to working with you further in the future to further see this company grow, because it's an excellent company and it puts its employees at the heart of the business, and partnership working with the GMB. And it's a pleasure to recently taken over, and thank you, Darren, and my workplace organisers and the branch for building the relationship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to the GMB. Thank you, Jill. My apologies, I didn't realise that you were here. Now, finally, we'd like to introduce, moving away from a bit of a rail theme here, but I'd like to introduce Kim Johnson from CW. Kim is the project leader and looks after the learning for the future project.
Good afternoon, Prynhawn Da. I'm Kim Johnson and I manage the WULF project for the Communication Workers Union, or CW for short. I'm really pleased to have been asked to be here today to speak to you all, to give an appreciation of our current and successful WULF project, Learning Together, Dysgu Gyda'n Gilydd, together with a hint of what our new project, Learning for the Future, Dysgu Dyfodol, has to offer. I'm employed by BT, but currently on a secondment to the CWU for the purposes of the WULF project. I've been on the secondment now for 16 years. I'm pleased to say that my BT Centre manager, Richard James, is in attendance today. So I wasn't going to mention that I've been on a secondment for 16 years, just in case he stopped it, but he won't because he's a nice person. And he also continues to be a keen supporter of learning in the workplace and always encourages with and promotes the learning events and courses that are provided at BT Stadium House in Cardiff. In fact, we've actually caught him taking part in Indian head massage and neck and shoulder massage on occasions. Considering we encountered COVID-19 and the associated lockdowns in the second and third years of this project, I believe all the projects have done really well. Not only have we had to change our course delivery methods, but our learners have also had to change how they studied them. Online learning became the norm, as did online conferences, meetings, and even doctor's appointments. I would now like to read to you one of our case studies. A learner who attended a family autism awareness day in 2018, funded by a previous WULF project, said, "It was brilliant, and I learned so much and how to help my children as we go through the diagnosis process." Her children were then diagnosed a few months later, and attending the course gave great insight into how to parent differently to support her boys. Then in 2020, she contacted me again, asking if WULF funding was still available, as she would like to undertake a level 2 barbering course. At that time, I didn't realise it was the same person, as initially I knew her by her maiden name, and now her email had her married name. Therefore, I asked her how she was able to get in contact with me and why she was doing the barbering course. She said, "Since lockdown, I've been cutting my kids' hair, and they're so much more relaxed with me doing it. My 8-year-old especially finds going to the barbers torturous and always ends in tears, as he is autistic, as is my eldest. I've had a chat with them, and they both said they would prefer me to cut their hair and would love to never have to ever go there again. I have really enjoyed doing it. It's a skill I would like to get better at." I understood this course would improve the well-being for all the family and put a business case to our Welsh Government contract manager, who agreed with me and authorised the course funding. I contacted the learner as soon as I knew the course could be funded, and she enrolled onto the Level 2 barbering course at Cardiff and Vale College, Barry campus. An unconditional offer was made to her, and she started the course on the 28th of September 2020. The course was completed last summer, and this is what the learner has to say. "I just wanted to say a massive thank you to you, as I'm now qualified and love being able to use this new skill." This year, she will be taking her family on their first trip abroad to Italy, where her paternal grandparents were born. To assist the family whilst they're in Italy, she wanted to brush up on her Italian language skills. Therefore, we've been able to support her with this request, and she has already started her 10-week course, which will help her and her family enjoy their holiday. As you can see from this case study, not every course is straightforward or fits neatly into one of the objectives of the projects. However, it does go to prove that once the learner returns to learning and has a good experience, they will continue with their learning journey. Our new WULF project, which starts on the 1st of April, will continue to offer courses in IT, Welsh, as well as health and well-being. However, we also have a new objective, which should be high on the agenda for everyone: green issues. We hope to train at least 10 reps. With support from our ULRs and the new CW WULF project, we can provide information and advice as well as workshops to our members. From upcycling household items, recycling plastic bags to the treatment of chemical products, we will look to come up with innovative and effective ways that are sustainable and useful in helping the world go green. We want individuals to contribute towards the betterment of the planet and make the world a better place to live for the generations to come. To emphasise this, I would like to quote a Native American proverb, which says, "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." Now we have a video for you to view from Craig Kinsey, CWU Lead ULR of Gwent and Malbranch and Open University Ambassador. Craig is actually the only ULR in his branch, so automatically became the lead. But he does a brilliant job of promoting learning in his branch area by undertaking courses to increase his skill set, to prove that everyone can do it, and just to keep one step ahead of his learners. The video was made by the Open University in Wales after Craig completed an Arts and Languages Access course with them, where he gained a distinction.
Thank you for all the contributions, actually, because I think most of us will recognise in the room, because we're involved in these type of activities, is that how it can make a difference, massive difference to people in their day-to-day lives, just opening that door for them and that first opportunity to get back into learning. So next, last but not least, of course, we've got welcome to Vaughan Gethin, Minister for Economy, to announce new projects. So I'd like to welcome Vaughan to the rostrum and speak. Nice to see you, Vaughan.
Penman, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be back before a Wales TUC audience and event, and a number of familiar faces from different parts of my life when I was younger and had less acquired wisdom that I was displaying, and obviously always a pleasure to be in the company of the elect. So looking forward to your presidential year, Brendan. I'm really pleased to be here at a Wales Union Learning Fund event, not just one of my favourite acronyms, the WULF Fund, but to celebrate what's already been achieved and to look forward to the future. And the difference that this fund and all of the activity that it entails has made. I can honestly say, many moons ago when I was the Vice President and the President of the Wales TUC, some of the most enjoyable parts of my time in those roles was actually engaging with Wales Union Learning Fund events and reps and hearing directly from people how WULF had changed their lives. And not just their lives in work, but their lives in total. And to hear people talk about the support that their trade union had given them, what it meant for them to understand and to be able to get past lifelong issues that had held them back, to understand the joy of a parent who can actually help their child with homework, because of the learning they've had, because of the support they've had for their trade union. They wouldn't have taken that step to do that if it weren't an offer that was backed and supported by their trade union, to see people who have really moved on in their careers and are able to take another step forward. And that point about belief and the acquisition of skills is a hugely important part of what the government wants to see happen. And that's why I'm going to be really pleased to formalise some of the points later on today about future progress. I'm delighted, therefore, to recognise this successful programme. It's 20 years of success. Derry Bevan still looked the same 20 years ago, but a number of us were younger. But also to think not just about some of what you've heard on the screen that I did manage to see as we've come in, but those generally heartwarming stories. And the challenges through the pandemic haven't stopped. And the things that all of us have had to do to keep each other safe, the things that trade union members have done to keep the country safe, are still part of why we do things like the WULF project, why we engage and invest in people, as opposed to simply services and numbers. And I know the stories you'll have heard today are really the tip of the iceberg in terms of the impact that WULF has already had. And I'm really pleased to reiterate that for this government, for this Welsh Labour-led government, WULF will remain a really important part of the employability and skills landscape. We recognise the impact is far-reaching, and we won't do what has happened across our borders, where this form of learning and investment in people has come to an end. Now, of course, young people have been greatly affected over the last few years, and it doesn't mean that other people haven't been, but if you think about the times that younger people have faced, your younger years can be loads of fun. They can also be really difficult for some people, whether it's at the start of working life or working out what's happening in school, leaving school, going through college, leaving, looking for job opportunities, and even for university students about having a normal student experience taken away from them. We also know that many young people find themselves in employment that is insecure and relatively low paid. And I've spoken recently about us needing to have a national sense of mission to try to give younger people the support and encouragement they need to enter the path into good, decent and sustainable employment. And I know that's a shared priority for the trade union movement as well. I know that you're keen to support the ethos of the young person's guarantee to ensure that we don't have a lost younger generation and we do have a genuine opportunity to move into decent work now and for the future. As well as looking to support younger people, the results of the recent WULF survey show just how important the programme is for other groups who often face disadvantage in the labour market. So 70% of WULF learners are women, and over a fifth of those surveyed have reported that they have physical, sensory, learning or mental health challenges. Now that demonstrates the importance that this programme has placed over the last 2 years on ensuring that you continue to reach out to people who do suffer typically disadvantage in the labour market to make sure that this programme doesn't flee from those who often faced the biggest challenges. The good bit, of course, is that it isn't just trying to do the right thing, it makes a difference for people. The survey also showed that over half of those learners attributed their participation in WULF to getting a pay rise, and 16% said it had been important for them to take the next step in their career and to go into a new role. So not just an expression of values, but it makes a practical difference for people in the workplace. Now, these are all really positive achievements, and I hope to build on them in the next phase of the WULF programme. Now, before I move on to the formal announcement, I want to take the opportunity to move back and to think again about the recent employability and skills plan that I launched on behalf of the Welsh Government. Now that's part of what we want to do to help pave the way to a fairer, more equitable and greener Wales, where people aren't left behind or held back, and how we continue to help change people's lives for the better. And it set out 5 key areas of action over this government term to help meet our longer term milestones for Wales, but I very much see WULF as helping in each of these areas as well. Now the first of those I've referred to earlier, that's delivering the young person's guarantee, to protect a generation from the impacts of lost learning and for some delayed entry into the labour market, and a labour market that is even more challenging in a different way now, given how tight that market is. But crucially, this is about making sure that young people feel confident about planning their future in Wales and not thinking that they need to get out to get on. And second, how we tackle economic inequality, to shift our focus to those furthest from the labour market, to find work and to have improved labour market outcomes for disabled people, black, Asian, minority ethnic people, women and those with lower skills. That's even more important because, as we know, the DWP are more active in some of the employability space than they have been in the past, but typically they're focusing their efforts on people who are labour market and job ready. There's a big gap there from people further from the labour market. If we weren't active in that space, I'm afraid we can be confident that help wouldn't be there. And there's a challenge not just for those individuals who won't have that opportunity. Actually, we all pay for that. There's a societal cost, but also it costs a large amount of money for people to be economically active when they could actually be active and positive about a future in the labour market. The third that links to that is promoting fair work for all, to use the levers we have available to help improve the offer for workers and to encourage more employers to make work better, fairer and more secure. Now, of course, we don't have levers in the reserved areas of employment law, and we've all seen in the last week or so what a really poor employer looks like at P&O. So it does show that the way the law works really matters, but also I think there's a room there for a government to lead and to say what we want to see happen. And I hope that conversation around what fair work is going to be advanced further forward practically here in Wales with the Fair Work and Procurement Bill that's going to take place with social partnership legislation. So an important opportunity that I know that the trade union movement and employers will engage in. The fourth area in the employment and skills plan is how we support people with long-term health conditions to work. This is something that I'm really pleased to see us carrying forward from my time as Health Minister, to understand how we anchor the health service both as an employer but also part of the delivery network to help prevent people falling out of employment or being excluded from ever getting into employment because of a healthcare condition. And again, I think back to the even further past when I was an employment lawyer and people understood the job that I did and some of them respected it. And actually lots of the work we were seeing come through there was around disability discrimination And actually, the most successful parts of that job there were how you persuaded employers to make adjustments for people to stay in the workplace rather than seeing their employment come to an end because of a healthcare condition. And finally, to raise skill levels and the adaptability of our workforce, to expand the system that we provide of flexible and personal learning for people both in and out of work to improve their skills, to find work or to retrain. Now, I know that all of these areas are shared priorities for people in this room, and it's part of the support that trade unions provide on a daily basis. I'm confident, therefore, that by working together, we really can improve the lives and outlooks of people across Wales. I know you've heard some inspiring stories today, and I look forward to hearing many more in the months and years to come. I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to officially launch the 2022 to 2025 WULF programme today, backed by £13 million of Welsh Government money, even in difficult times, a multi-year, multi-million commitment to workplace learning and working alongside trade unions, I think really does tell you something about where the values of this government are, and we're putting our money where our mouth is. I look forward to working with you over the next 3 years to achieve even more positive outcomes, to hear stories that inspire, and to hear the reality of helping to make people's lives better. Many thanks, friends and colleagues. I look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you for Vaughan again for your presence today and the contribution you're obviously making. And I would like to now welcome Shavanah, who's the Welsh TUC General Secretary. Shavanah is here to close the event, and Shavanah, as you probably well know, leads the Wales TUC team in supporting union-led learning and skills delivery. So I'll hand you over to Shav.
Thanks, Brendan, and Prynhawn dda, and good afternoon, everyone. It's really good to actually be able to see people in real life and not just be sat in front of a screen. And if you see me holding my side or doing a weird little, strange lunge, my back is slightly a bit funny. It is a bit off at the moment, so just FYI. I just wanted to say a couple of little things in terms of some of the stories that we've actually heard and how inspired they were, and actually that what's very clear is that learning is very infectious. There are so many different benefits, and you can clearly actually see when you heard the personalised stories how it made the individual feel. But I think there was a comment that was made by one of the learners, one of the reps actually, who said that it was important for him to actually have gone through the programme himself so that he could, it wasn't just something that he was talking about theoretically, but he could talk with so much passion and enthusiasm and real honesty in terms of the personal benefits that he's had as an individual, how it's helped him personal development and with his career growth as well. But I'm not going to talk about the various different projects because everyone is a little bit hungry. But I did want to say thank you actually and to our Minister today, because not far from here in England, the government there has decided to get rid of the Union Learning Fund, and that is extremely disappointing. There are lots of trade unionists, workers, employers who actually came together and talked about how beneficial it was, this learning programme in place. And the fact that it's now gone, but we still have it here, particularly as we go through the process of trying to regroup post-pandemic, of course, all the mess of Brexit, and now, of course, the cost of living crisis, it is going to be really important for us to make sure that we are supporting as many workers as possible throughout the whole of Wales. And there's very clear evidence now that there is that clear link between education and how it improves health and well-being, how it actually helps remove so many of those structural barriers to actually achieving equity in the workplace. And it helps people in terms of their job security. It helps them in terms of their workforce morale, but also there's real benefits here in terms of improving the possibilities of, turning that aspiration of having better pay terms and conditions into a reality. That's the fact here. So the benefits are absolutely really, really clear. And some of the statistics that the Minister mentioned, again, some of the surveys, some of the work that's ongoing very much clearly shows us how important the Welsh Union Learning Fund actually is, and how widening that sort of participation and making sure that even more workers, particularly those who are vulnerable workers, people from Black, Asian, minority ethnic backgrounds, more women workers, younger workers entering into the workplace for the first time. We have to remember there are some people who have never actually physically yet been in a workplace. They joined during the pandemic over a screen. They've been working from home. Some of those individuals will now physically start returning into the workplace. So again, WULF is going to be a great way to be able to engage with those individuals and talk to them about the benefits of being a member of a trade union as well, and getting them more actively involved. For me, what we have to now make sure, of course, as many others have said, that fair work actually becomes a reality. And yesterday, it was really good to hear the Minister for Social Partnership again talk about the fact that whilst in England we have got a government that is quite happy to, well, appears to be quite happy with the fact that you have such bad employment practices, 800 workers being fired over Zoom. Who would have thought that would be something that would be happening in 2022? Now, we have a government here in Wales that has made it very clear, they haven't shied away from the fact that whilst they may not have all the levers, they will use every single lever within their power to ensure that actually trade union access into workplaces, collective bargaining as a means to actually improve workers' terms and conditions and their aspirations for the future in terms of building that green, sustainable future is a reality, is very heartening and really important for us to be hearing. Because, you know, as we have heard over the last couple of weeks, we've heard many of you would have picked up the Chancellor's, the UK Chancellor's statement. We know when it comes to gas electric prices alone, going up by 54%, yet in France, they've managed to keep their prices locked at 4%. The difference being because they have a government that is actually invested in one of the largest gas electric providers. And so there are ways and means, there are other options. We don't actually always have to continuously go down the route of austerity and negative outcomes for people. So I would say that bearing that in, it is now on the 18th of June, the trade union, the TUC at a national level, but also across all of the regions and nations, are calling for a day of action on the 18th of June. We are going to be mobilising and going up to Parliament Square to make sure that our voices are heard. And it's not just trade unions, it is lots of different organisations and partners who are going to be taking to the streets, because this is now, we're at that point where people are, they're desperate. They're so desperate just to survive, let alone actually have the opportunity to thrive. And that's where the Welsh Union Learning Fund is unique. In terms of the funding that we receive, and then you look at the output of that and the confidence of the workers and how that actually brings employers and unions and government together in social partnership is so positive and is so good to see. And it creates an opportunity where sometimes people have this very negative idea of trade unions. And actually, the Welsh Union Learning Fund gives us that alternative, actually, and it shows that when you work collaboratively, and we all keep talking about this green, sustainable future, I'm really excited now about the funding that we are going to be receiving and what's going to happen and types of different projects that have already been spoken about. I want to see them come to life, so that when I'm standing here in the next couple of years, we hear yet more really exciting stories from individuals and the benefit that they've received, but also what the wider benefit has been to that workplace and to that business itself as well. So diolch yn fawr, everybody. There's lunch upstairs in the Oriole, so I will leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Shav. And just before we break, just to say thank you to everyone really for attending today. Particularly like to thank those who presented today. That's never easy. So like myself, other people find that's not necessarily always easy. So I think people coming up and telling us their stories is really important, because it gives actual meaning to all the work and demonstrates what value is given, I think, to people. Special thanks to CAP and the Welsh TUC who helped to organise this event. And for those in person, there's a buffet. I'm afraid for those who are watching from somewhere else, we can show you pictures of the buffet at some stage later, but You'll have to do yourself something. But thank you everybody for today, and look forward to the next event and the next 3 years. Thank you very much.